Thanks for the invite. So GIZ usually works with different Albanian institutions on topics such as urban development, rural development, migration, economic development. There's a vast array. We are 168 people working on the topics. And it happened to be that one of the projects is also about urban transport.
Yes.
Always the way that GIZ works as a development organization is that there's a request from the Albanian institutions to work on a certain topic, and there's governmental negotiations on how this takes place. So our project was in those lines as well. The municipality of Tirana saw the need to get support in terms of development of urban transport, because our project, we are here today to talk about public transport, but our project also works with walking and cycling, so other aspects as well. And there was a request from the municipality of Tirana to the German embassy that GIZ supports us in this as well, with us, I mean the Albanian government. And this was about the municipality of Tirana. As we know, it's the biggest municipality in the country. 53% of the population lives there, so it was very important and urgent. So we've been working, it's not visible, but we've been working since October 2020 on these projects.
Yeah, so in general, it has been a big learning for us, let's say, because we come from different backgrounds. I myself, I studied physics and human factors, and I had only worked in transport in general, but not the public transport. And I joined also later. But if you work on a project where you have to define certain goals and objectives, you have to leave always a bit of room to navigate. And that was especially important here because we were all starting to understand how does Tirana manage its public transport system, how does the bus market work, what do we need to improve certain things. So we have to first start to understand the system ourselves and also understand our partner, how they work. And I think that was quite difficult because you don't get to do so much at the beginning because you're learning so much. And one of the things which then is actually just the tip of the iceberg, if you want so, is the Google Maps, which wasn't part of our primary goal. But we discovered that the foundations need help, basically. And that can feel like a setback. But at the same time, it's a great opportunity because if you think there, like the data structure, so to say, then you immediately have a lot of effect. If you want to publish such a thing, it's well written how to do this. It's not magic. Right? I also didn't
But you need to have a structure before.
Yes, and
which didn't exist.
Yeah, so it feels like you have to weed out a lot of things, correct mistakes in data, and that can be very a mundane process. But I mean, I eventually did it, but the much bigger problem will be, or the more challenging problem is to get the municipality to do it and to set up processes and to give them the means to do it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we are all technical experts in our field, but the biggest challenge is actually non-technical.
It's the human factor.
The human factor, so to say, yeah.
I think that's where you got most of the help also from Reggie.
Yeah, I want to tell a little bit about the standard GTFS, which means General Transit Fleet Specifications. Right? Yeah. This is, I think, important for the public transport of Tirana because now the transport is under a standard, is following some lines. This doesn't mean that publish it in Google Maps, the transport is better, but at least we have some basic information about the transport, which some weeks ago there was zero, doesn't exist anything about the bus stops, about the timetable, routes and so on. So this is important, and I hope it will push also the operators to follow this rules, let's say.
Exactly.
To respect the timetable, and the next step will be huge because this is GTFS static, means that it's a static information. It doesn't count or tell you the information in real time, but real time, it will be the future. I hope near future, but let's see.
Here, it's very visible that there are many operators because of the lack of a brand.
Exactly.
It's a unifier. In other countries, also there's many operators. You just don't see it because they decide to. So there's an agency.
Usually, exactly, which they are being managed by.
Yeah. So we try to do the same as well. So in other projects we work, we try to bring that together as well with new forms of contract, new ways of this relationship between the operator and the municipality. There's also cases, of course, where the municipality runs the buses. That's in countries where there was a history, or in cities like Pristina has some buses that they operate because of the history from former Yugoslavia. Here it wasn't the case. We gave that up in the 2000s. Yeah, right.
Yeah, early 2000s.
And that's didn't happen. But you can have that if you work with this brand. I don't mean just marketing, but more like unifying the operations, the management, having someone who coordinates everything, and you can make that happen because it's a very small system. It's 300 buses in contract. It's really nothing so difficult to do. It's just a matter of management. Now that we are discussing with other cities as well, I see how small the system is and how much we can do if you just have all the people together. And there will be another process of publishing timetables on the bus stops. This is not through the real-time information displays only, but the actual physical timetables printed. And that will also help a lot in clarifying this, because as part of this process that we mentioned of data consistency was also about the names of the routes. So
names of the bus stops.
The bus stops and the routes. Just this week we've been in a discussion of the names of the routes. And we are trying to standardize them. So what happened, why you see numbers now, is because this is the standard. Okay. You cannot, when we had a consultant coming who was working on the bus map and the bus route information, he said you cannot have combinat but you need a number. And they actually had a number. It was 915, but nobody knew it was 915. So what we need to do is now reintroduce that through different lanes. It's difficult because, again, I think I want to connect it to this institutional issues. Nobody thinks of actually to inform the public changed properly, to be very honest, blunt. And this is something we're trying to change. So now we will publish those route timetables also on tirana.al very soon, so that you can see, okay, combinat, it's still the name there as well, additional. So you see that combinat Kino Studio is now 15A, for example. Great. And there will be a process, of course, of changing that and understanding that.
Yeah, in the past I've been working with the private operators for almost 20 years, and I never had information about the numbers, honestly. But now I know all the numbers because of the project.
Yeah, I remember.
And it's much more easy with the numbers, believe me, because everybody is saying that in Google Maps are only numbers. It's difficult to recognize which is the line. But once fixed, it's much more easy.
And we started, before the Google Maps process, we started with this standardization of bus stop names, bus stop information, because we were asked by the municipality of Tirana to develop a bus map. So they told us, just give us a bus map. But it's not that easy. We had to think about also like the language of the colors and everything, which sounds easy, but like more the brand, the unified brand, because you cannot just do a bus map without thinking what type of
who's going to represent what,
and how it works. And this expert told us, for example, you cannot have bus stop names more than 17 characters. It's just not readable anymore. Things like that. So we started that process, and it was the same with numbers. When we started with the project, to be very honest, it was just easier with the numbers. This will sound, but if you do data analysis and you want to put in a graph all the lines, you have to put numbers, because there's no room for combinat Kino Studio or iść stacjoni treni, koszty zoologique, tag. Like there is no room, so you just put the numbers. This is how we started in the project, just to talk about the numbers. And actually, for example, our colleagues, our consultants who are not living in Tirana, probably don't know all the names. They just don't know
Numbers,
the
perfectly.
numbers.
We also noticed, and you might have too, that people can give feedback on the bus journey. So how full was the bus? How was the temperature? Was it accessible?
Yeah.
These things, and which are very valuable.
Most of the times it's going to be the bus was full.
Yeah, which we also found out before for most clients. But yeah, so on activity we have no data yet, but it's certainly interesting. And one of the things why we are also having another goal in this project is to provide an AVL system, which is an automatic vehicle location system, where we are assisting the municipality to procure it, which is a very large investment.
In these projects we mentioned, we do a lot of work with data collection and analysis. Existing data, because there is existing data, and the municipality has access, but it's just that nobody did aggregation or built it all out. So we always say there's a difference between having data and having information. Yeah. So this process was never, that step was never taken so much, at least not so much, not never. And then we also collected new data from ridership to crowdness. We have data, satisfaction with the bus service. Actually, we did this 4 times with a sample of 2,500 people. So we have some data that we are also using to redesign the network. Mm-hmm. Now it's very visible, but some of the things we already discussed, and we hope that through making things as visible as possible, we get then complaints in the customer feedback portal, so that we have another way of pushing the municipality, because this is coming, and politicians don't want unhappy people, of course, so we're trying to push from all the sides.
But this is also important. How can you know that something is off if you don't know what it is supposed to be?
Yeah.
So I always have this discussion with my colleagues at the municipality. People say that, but the bus doesn't go there. Yeah, but it should. But so then how, if you don't put it out there so that people can complain, to build pressure to actually follow up with this. So it is important, yeah. You can only change what you can measure, actually.
Exactly.
Sure. So,
Until now, all the risk of the business is at the operator's side. So operators are obliged to operate with a fixed fare from the municipality. They are obliged to have on board people that cannot pay, for example. There are a lot of categories of travelers that by law they can travel for free, but no one is going to compensate these operators. Starting from 2022, the operators are having subsidy from the municipality, and now we are working hard to improve this subsidy mechanism in order to distribute money in the correct way. And I think it will be much more efficient also for the operators to operate much more better. And I think in the near future, the financial scheme of the operation for the public transport will change. So the operators will be paid per kilometer. So all the operators are not belonging from the numbers of travelers, but they will be paid for the kilometers, and they will be obliged to follow the schedule. It doesn't matter if the bus will be empty or full, and this is important.
We have a table that we always show that shows in other countries how much public transport is subsidized. And because of that, the operators are fighting to make money, but not to provide a good service. If you take that out of them and you as authority take that responsibility and just pay them for the service, then they will be focused on running a good service, because if they don't, they'll get penalties if they not get the money. Now they don't get a lot of, it's not that they lose money because they get money from the riders. So this is...
So now we have the conductors, we have the controllers who control the conductors, and we have the controllers who control the controllers. So there are a lot of efforts put in this service, and for this reason, it's not the service that we deserve.
I think that's very interesting because, you know, when the municipality decided to have this model of running public transport, they should have known that this comes with a big responsibility to look into what is happening at the bus, to measure bus kilometers, which didn't happen before we actually picked this up, before we suggested this subsidy mechanism. So on the one hand, you have the operator who carries 100% of the risk, commercial risk, and you want them to have to run a service which you don't look into, which makes it prone to a lot of other things that go wrong. And this is a difficult situation, I think, because in other cases, the municipality owns the public transport system.
We created this urbane.tirana.al. If you go, there's a form there for complaints, but then if you go below, if you scroll down, you can access the map, you can access the GTFS there, so on and forth. What we're trying to do now is, from our side, push and explain and make sure that they understand the power of this, of giving information to the people. For example, to have a dedicated section at tirana.al where everything is published, to have it on Tirana eMap, to have it on open data platform of the municipality. But that takes a bit of time to get everyone together and agree